97 wins.
And the Brewers with their 97th win.
Champs of the Central.
Like I've always said, it's about the who that's in the room. And these are the right guys. They know how to play. They know how to win.
The number 1 seed.
Right on the deep right. It is way back.
Is this the year that results in a championship? It's time for the Fan Playoff Preview Show with Tommy Wortz on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
Welcome in to the Fan Playoff Preview Show. As the intro, playing a double play to end Game 2 between the Padres and the Cubs. 1-1, that series. We're not here to talk about those. Try it again now. Here.
So they're not singing that stupid song today, are
Yes. Drew Wagner, Tommy Wortz here with you live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook to get you caught up on all things Brewers before the NLDS this weekend. Mr. Wagner, how are we today, my friend?
Doing all right, man. It's a beautiful day to have a day off.
Yes.
Cleaned out the garage.
Okay, nice. Anything good in there?
No, just crap that I didn't get a chance to pack before I moved.
Okay.
It just all got randomly thrown in boxes and then taped up and stuffed in the rafters. And then you need something, you can't find it, so you're digging through boxes and just spewing stuff everywhere. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one time when you go in there, you'll find something that you'll be like, oh, I totally forgot I had this, even at least during that stretch. Brewers baseball coming up this weekend, October 4th. The Brewers will play either the Padres or the Cubs, either at 1 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Big range there on what can happen on Saturday. It all depends on that Yankees-Red Sox series.
I'm going to borrow so much Red Sox gear from Mitchell Aaron Ellis because
he's got enough of it. Yes.
1 o'clock on Saturday would be hell on earth.
It just feels like this is the best record in baseball, too.
Yeah.
Why do you want and the storylines, as far as the divisional series goes, is there a better storyline than Brewers-Cubs if that were to happen?
I mean, that would be, there is so much. You talk about convoluted drama for broadcast. I mean, you have everything, the big city and the little city, the longtime rivalry, the history of it. You have Counsell, you have Murphy, all that stuff. Like, why would you not want to showcase that? And I have had this question with MLB for years and years and years. That's why I said when I wrote that story about the Little League game, why I thought it was such a big deal, even though Brewers officials thought, well, this isn't even a story. Why? Because it's national exposure,
sure, for
a really good story. It boggles my mind that we still have to play this game in 2025 of the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers always come. Like yesterday, I tweeted out, MLB put out a graphic with players from each team in the playoffs around the World Series trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Who, of course, is front and center. A Dodgers player and a Yankees player, because
right,
a 3 and a 4. Why not put your ones out there?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
And they've earned the respect.
The Red Sox Yankees series, like either way, it's going to be another AL East matchup. The winner of that faces the Blue Jays, and I understand the New York Yankees brand is bigger than just baseball, right? I mean, as far as professional North American sports, the New York Yankees brand is massive. I get that. But also, they're not really, I don't want to say taken seriously, but like the New York Yankees are not the 1927 New York Yankees.
They're not the 2000s New York Yankees.
Right. They haven't done they've won one title since 2000.
This rivalry has been force-fed down our throats so much because it seems like every time, first of all, I need to look this up. Someone needs to tell me when the last time the Yankees and the Red Sox played a series during the week, because it feels like every weekend is their series, which means they're on Sunday Night Baseball, they're on Fox, they're on whatever. They are always on national TV.
Right.
This has been force-fed down to us to the point where, yeah, obviously there are Yankees and there are Red Sox fans across the country, but I got to guess that the ratings outside of those two markets, of those two regions, probably isn't as great as Major League Baseball thinks. And I got to believe that if you start putting some of these really good teams from, say, the Central Time Zone on national TV, you're going to get pretty high ratings, because I'm willing to bet that a lot more people outside of New York and Boston are going to want to tune in to watch, say, the Brewers and the Guardians, the Brewers and the Tigers, or even the Blue Jays, than watching yet again the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Big Chuck, what do you got over there for us?
The last time the Yankees Red Sox had a week series was in September of 2023.
Oh,
they
my
played
gosh.
Tuesday, and then they had a doubleheader on Thursday because the game got rained out on
It's
Wednesday.
actually been years.
Mhm.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
I would have thought that it had been a lot further back than that, but that's still.
I mean, it's like you were saying. I mean, you're playing the divisional opponent, more than anyone else, and they still do everything in their power. Unless it's Apple TV, then throw the Brewers on that. Everyone loves to watch the Brewers on Apple TV Plus. It is the Fan Playoff Preview Show. Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner here with you guys until about 6 o'clock today. Nicolay Law Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250. If you want to join the show, you can call in, text in. We'll read all those as well as things are coming up. We really want to go over expectations in the National League Divisional Series, and not just for the Brewers as a whole, but looking at the entire lineup, the entire roster heading in to the Divisional Series this year. It feels like this year, Drew, the Brewers' expectations as a team should be higher than they have ever been right now. They are the 1 seed as far in all of Major League Baseball. They broke the franchise record in wins. They led the MLB in runs. Like, this is the year where you should have eyes on you. You should not be a dark horse. You should be a team that everyone is actually paying a little more attention to, Drew, because they're doing it differently than what the blueprint has been for Major League Baseball over the last decade plus.
What I'm curious is, and I'll start with you guys, and if you've got an opinion, you can call in, text in, Sparky and Tommy. Oh, hi, Sparky. Oh, get me a t-shirt.
Nice.
I want to know what realistic expectation. What will it take this October for the Brewers for you to not look at this Brewers season as a failure, waste of time, bust, whatever you want to call it? Like, how far do you think they need to go?
Ooh, I think it's an easy answer. I think you can't get eliminated round 1.
Right.
You cannot. And especially if it ends up being against Chicago, which now we'll see who it is tomorrow, because they'll play game number 3 of that wild card series. But I don't want to make this sound like it's bigger than anything else in the postseason, but you eliminate Craig Counsell and the Chicago Cubs, like that emotions. Look at the Cowboys-Packers game over the weekend, right? That emotion that Micah Parsons is feeling, let's compare it to Craig Counsell's emotions, right? Now, Craig is the only guy on Chicago feeling those emotions, similar to Micah Parsons being the only member of the Packers feeling those levels of emotions. Well, everyone on Dallas feeling those emotions, every player, the GM, front office, coaching, right? Similar to the Brewers, where this is like an entire city feeling those emotions and that roller coaster that Craig Counsell is going through if he's playing the Brewers. Everyone in Milwaukee is feeling that if they're playing the Cubs.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, listen, if it's Brewers Cubs, this is going to be a bleep show.
Yeah.
I mean, it is going to be nuts. I can't wait to hear Craigers just get eviscerated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be a blood league. Like I remember game 163.
Yeah.
And it'll be a different situation because that was a basically less than 24 hours to sell tickets, things like that. There were a ton of Brewers fans at Wrigley. I mean, I'd say it was a good 50-50 split. This should be predominantly a Brewers crowd. You know, I would assume that the people that use the Cubs tickets to pay for their season ticket packets are probably going to hold on to these. There's not much of a walk up. If you're from out of market and you want to get tickets to this game, you're going to have to get them on the secondhand market. So no doubt there's going to be Cubs fans in there. But the atmosphere inside the ballpark on Saturday, whenever that game is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. If it's the Cubs, it is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before.
Yeah, I can completely agree with you on that. I was at the playoff series last year against the Mets, and again, you felt it all, especially in that game 3, right? Where it was just a stalemate the whole time. Tobias Myers shoving for the Brewers. They're also getting shut out on the other side. And instead of rocking with the man who you are paying $17 million, Pat Murphy goes down his bench, says, hey, Jake, grab a bat, Jake, right? Let's see what happens here against this matchup here. We will take the bat out of a guy who's already had October moments as well with other teams in Major League Baseball and gave it over to Jake Bauers. And he hits this home run. The whole place goes crazy. The place is nuts. They have no idea what to do. And while they are celebrating that awesome moment, Sal Frelick just adds to it. And the place cannot contain itself. And to have your heart ripped out because of the moment the other team gets to create with Pete Alonso, I can imagine that it's going to feel like that whenever something happens in that Brewers and Cubs series. One run goes this way, you're going to hear that emotion go down. One run goes towards your favor, it's going to erupt at American Family Field.
And that's one thing that I want to see. And I leave the fan police to the noble Onabam, whatever his name is on Twitter. But that place gets quiet a lot. There's not much in terms of like game noise in there. Like, it's just people are sitting on their hands. Like, you want to make an atmosphere, you got to be loud and boisterous.
It feels like it's attentive, though.
Yeah,
it's like it's a nervousness, right? Because almost every time as a Brewers fan, you feel like I don't even know what to do when we get to these moments, right?
Two things I know for sure. One, if your company sponsors a Thunderstick giveaway, I'm going to organize the greatest boycott the city has ever seen.
We had Rick on Schlesinger.
Oh, really?
And you cannot have noisemakers of any sort. You can have towels, obviously. That'll be a part of it.
That's why the Brewers lost in 2008, because they came out and they gave out Thundersticks ahead of Game 4, and you lost your home field advantage because no one's making noise because they're banging those stupid things. And two, if anyone tries to start the wave at one of these playoff games,
Drew hates the wave, man.
You are allowed, and if security gives you trouble, just tell them I said so. You are allowed to dump beer and throw peanuts at whoever is trying to start the wave.
This is like the problem with the wave is that it's always when the Brewers are pitching too.
It's always at like a crucial moment.
Yes, it's like let's hit the wave here in the fifth while it's top of five. Like, we're trying to get our pitcher through five here, and it never seems to work itself out.
Because I'm guessing that Major League Baseball, because they're dingbats, are going to close the roof, even though Saturday is supposed to be absolutely beautiful. I am guessing that they're going to just decide to close the roof. And if that's the case, like, I hope everyone gets pretty liquored up beforehand and just turns that place into a symphony of sound.
If that game's at 8:00, it will be no problem with people getting liquored up beforehand. I promise you that will be an atmosphere. Do they open the lots earlier on playoff games?
So many people ask me about things like,
but
when do the gates open? When do the lots open? Where do you go to get, like, what kind of, I honest to God have no idea.
Yeah, when's the last time you attended a Brewers game as a fan?
It was 2023. It was August 24th. That was the first time I'd ever gone to a game in that stadium as a fan.
Wow.
It's the last time I'll probably go to a game in that stadium as a fan.
Okay.
It was a horrible, in retrospect, it was a horrible date. So,
nice. Okay. Makes sense.
I had to drink a lot.
Why can't you just bring dates to the press box? That feels like you should have that level of seniority.
I did bring her up there to get ice cream.
Wow. That was big baller move for sure.
Yeah.
It is the fan playoff preview show. Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner here. Well, I think that we'll set it up for the next segment here, but just looking at it, there's going to be a 26-man roster. All signs seem to point to Rhys Hoskins, Tobias Myers, Grant Anderson, all being guys left off this roster. And we're waiting to hear still on an announcement with Brandon Woodruff. Did you get that announcement yet, Drew?
We're never going to get that announcement.
Never going to get that announcement ever. But there is going to be a core group of guys that you have seen all season, right? I think really the only bat I can imagine that's going to be on this team that wasn't down the stretch here is Brandon Lockridge. And again, I don't even know if he's going to get a bat in his hands if he does get the opportunity in the postseason. But the core guys, you know them, the Freddie Peraltas, the Christian Yelich's, everyone is going to have expectations for these players heading into the National League Divisional Series. But Drew, there's going to have to be guys that step up in this moment that maybe across the national media stage they don't really know their name. They don't really know much about them. They haven't heard anything that is made a headline that went viral on Twitter. The Brewers are going to be relying on players that not a lot of other teams have the same reliability on in a role fashion.
Yeah, it's going to be listen, it's going to be the same thing we've seen all year. It's going to be all hands on deck. It's going to be the next guy up. It's going to be like we saw last, like you just talked about it. Who in their right mind last year would have expected that the heroes of game 3 would have been Jake Bauers and Sal Frelick?
I mean, you don't want to know who because you're sitting across from them that Jake Bauers was going to do something awesome. I'm ride or die with Jake Bauers. I've tried to get off the train and I can't.
Who?
With Rake Powers. I can't do it. I can't leave his side. And especially when game 3 happened and I'm sitting behind someone who is wearing a Reese Hoskins Phillies jersey asking, why the hell are they pinch hitting him? And then Jake hits the homer in front of their face. Like, I'll never forget that moment. I'm actually a little annoyed that Sal Frelick hit the homer right after because I didn't get to bask in that moment long enough before I had to move on to the Sal Frelick moment. But to your point, 100%. No one was writing stories about what role Jake Bauers is going to play in the postseason last year. No one was really even writing stories about Tobias Myers going to go. How much can he do in a game 3 pitching situation? It was always going to be a next man up mentality, even dating back to last year.
Yeah, and that's just the way that they play. Now, the thing is, when you're in the playoffs, you have more of an opportunity to quote unquote be a hero. You got guys on, you get the mistake pitch, you get the big home run, and it gets, the focus. But the thing is, every single guy on that lineup is capable of doing it. And that includes dudes that are going to be buried on the bench. Dudes like Lockridge, it may not be a home run. It may be, a stolen base. It may be a huge
Dave
defensive
Roberts,
play.
anyone,
Dave Roberts,
right?
anyone.
Yeah,
like the way that the Brewers play, it opens up the door for so many guys to have a moment. And that'll be the cool thing. But what I would love is for Anthony Siegler to make his way on the roster and come up with like a game-saving catch or something, works a walk to bring the next guy up,
be an
and
emergency catcher during
this
entire stage, right? Nikolai Law fan talking text line 414-677-1250. If you want to join the program, come on up, join me, Tommy Wortz, and Drew Wagner. Expectations by players in the Milwaukee Brewers. Who do you have the highest expectations for? What are some expectations you are looking for out of this team? It is the Fan Playoff Preview Show. We are live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
I do freeze on me now. Take some time back in my prime. Lay it down.
You got to get some Toby Keith on the air if it's Drew Wagner and Tommy Wortz, right?
Love Toby.
Fan playoff preview show. Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner, getting you caught up all things Crew ahead of Game 1, the NLDS, October 4th, this Saturday. It'll be either against the Chicago Cubs or the San Diego Padres, who just won game number 2 today. The New York Yankees scoring on a 2-run homer from Ben Rice against the Red Sox in the bottom part of the first inning. That series is 1-0 in favor of Boston. We were talking in between the break, like how crazy would it be if all these series just go to 3 games?
It'd be great.
I mean, just the chaos that would ensue for Major League Baseball. And quite frankly, it has to benefit Milwaukee a little bit that this series has gone to 3 games already. No, Drew?
Yeah, you're using the pitchers. I mean, that's always a big thing. Now, it's not as big of a deal because you still will have, was it 2 days off?
Right. Yeah. It'll Thursday, Friday, play again Saturday.
And then in the National League, you have that second day off in there. So, I mean, there's not that much of an advantage, but you do get to, burn through guys, make them work a little bit more, get more tape on them. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal.
Drew, I had this printed out yesterday. I went over this list of ranking the Brewers' projected 26-man playoff roster with our good buddy Kurt Hogue over at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And again, he had pointed out that just missing the cut on his predictions is Rhys Hoskins, Tobias Myers, Grant Anderson, Logan Henderson. That's probably a little injury related as well. Yeah. But I guess let's just take it from that point right away. If Rhys Hoskins is on this playoff roster, does make the Brewers playoff roster surprising at all to you if that happens?
It'd be very surprising. I mean, the guy hasn't appeared in a game, maybe 2 games in the last week or 2. He's not been utilized off the bench. If you were going to use him as a pinch hitter, you'd be giving him regular pinch hit opportunities to get him prepared for that role, right?
Right.
It's the same thing we talked about with moving Jacob Mizorowski to the bullpen. You would have started that process a while ago. You would have DH'd Rhys Hoskins, so he's used to just getting at bats and not worry. It's just you didn't see him play, so it's hard to imagine a scenario where he makes it on the roster when you have Andrew Vaughn, who's hitting the ball well, when you have Jake Bauers, who's crushing the ball from the other side of the plate. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, and looking at it, he got 10 plate appearances from the 9th of September to the end of the season. And that was the first day he could come back, right? Yep. Was the 9th of September. Yeah, he had 1 game in which he got 3. So I would assume he would have started that game. Yes, he did. Game started. He was then pinch hit for, or at least pulled at some point in the 8th. And he went 1 for 10 in those appearances. He struck out 6 times in there as well. So I agree. I do think that this team is all in on platooning of some sort, Andrew Vaughn and Jake Bauers. At the end, now 26-man roster and ranking the importance, I guess, of them. I want to just go right to the top here. He has 2 pitchers at the top of this. It is Freddie Peralta. It is Quinn Priester. Drew, I will start and ask you, are those the 2 most important pieces with maybe the highest expectations for the Brewers heading into the divisional series?
Without a doubt. And listen, I don't know where, because I don't read Kurt's drivel, but you might as well put Jose Quintana as number 3 on there.
Okay.
Pitching, the playoffs is all about pitching and power. We know about the power situation, but it all comes down to pitching. If your starters can't go out there and set the tone and keep the other guys off the board, then you're screwed. You don't dig out of 3-run, 4-run first inning holes very often in the playoffs. Sure. You just don't.
Sure.
You're going up against the best of the best here. They need Freddie to come in and be an ace. Now, they don't need him to go and give you the 7-8 innings like we talk about all the time during his regular season starts for any number of reasons. But like we just said, first and foremost, You're coming with a fully rested bullpen on Saturday, and you have a day off the next day. You can be a little more aggressive and survive a 5-inning Freddie start in that situation. Quinn Priester, too. He's got a day off behind him and a day off ahead of it. They can be a little bit more aggressive. Where it gets tricky is Jose Quintana. And that's part of the reason where I kind of would like to see them switch those starts and maybe put Quintana in the second spot.
Okay.
Just because you can get your bullpen some more work and then get him some rest. You've got longer length out of Priester on a fairly regular basis. Go with him in game 3. That would just make more sense to me. But those guys set the tone. All 3 of those guys. I'd put them 1, 2, and 3 on the list, because if they're not performing, if they're not locked in,
sure,
if they're not dominant, then it's everything else doesn't matter.
What about Trevor McGill? Where do you think could he be 4th?
I mean,
on this list?
Yeah, that's right.
Because I think that Trevor McGill, if he is healthy and he's ready to go, you saw Chapman get out of the bases loaded yesterday, right? I mean, that 9th inning and that back end relief is so critical, it feels like. And the Brewers were bit by it on the other side last year.
The interesting thing to me is, how do they end up using McGill? Do they just put him right back in the 9th inning role and move everybody down? Or do you use him as your starting closer? If your starter runs out of gas or runs into a jam, in the 5th or 6th inning, usually they go to Mears for that. Do you maybe consider going to McGill and leaving Uribe in that 9th inning role?
Well, and he did a fine job in that role as well when he was called upon. I think that, to me, ideally, game 1, this is what happens, is that Freddie can give you 5, and then Ashby is the first man out of the pen. Once you have Ashby, if he can get you 2 innings, now you can save one of the 3 of Koenig, Uribe, and McGill for game 2, right? Yep. And they can be that first man out there. Whether it is you use 2 of those 3, or you decide Nick Mears is a good matchup, maybe you don't want to throw Jared Koenig out there because of a lefty situation. But I think that really Trevor McGill, I would almost put him as more important than Jose Quintana in this matchup, because I think that in the postseason especially, we've seen very quick triggers on starters. And if Trevor McGill is going to be 99 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour Trevor McGill with the absolute hammer curveball, that is so valuable in that back end of the bullpen and wherever he decides to come out, if Pat Murphy would like to pitch him sooner in that.
The big thing about McGill too is, he like you said, he's a power pitcher, and he's not exactly the guy that you want to turn to when you got a couple guys on, because you're looking for the ground ball there, more often than not, unless you're just looking for
but look
one
at how
out, get
big
the strikeout,
strikeouts have been too during this postseason.
But here's the thing, I understand the importance of McGill, but if you don't get good starts, you're not going to get to the point where the closer matters. If your guys put them in a hole, I mean, it doesn't matter who your closer is, because you're in a hole, and now it's up to the offense to swing their way out of it.
Nicolay Law fan talk and text line 414-677-1250. You can join the show just like Ken in the Falls is about to right here. Ken, how are we doing today, my friend?
If I were any better, I would know what to do with myself.
Ken, I'm looking right now. We're talking about expectations and people with the highest amount of pressure, I guess, heading into the National League Divisional Series with the Milwaukee Brewers. Where's your brain going after that conversation you just heard us having?
Well, in terms of expectations, I think when you're the best team in baseball and you played like it for 90-plus days, the expectations are incredibly high.
Sure.
Minimum, you gotta be in the pennant. You gotta win the pennant, in my opinion. Does this team have the goods to win the World Series? You better believe they do. Everything, in my opinion, is going to come down to 2 things. Obviously, pitching is going to be key, and they have the horses for that. But it's runners in scoring position and doing what they've done all season long, putting pressure on the opponent. They have been excellent at putting pressure on the opponent. When they get on base, they're running. They're putting pressure on them right away. They do that, it's going to be lights out for many teams. They're going to put away teams quickly because those other teams are going to choke. And I'm going to tell you, this Brewer team is very exciting. People in the national media, yes, we've heard a little bit about them. Yeah, they talk kind of about them, but you're right. When they keep talking about Boston and New York and the Dodgers, folks, this Brewer team is going to take the country by storm once people start watching them play. They are going to get the recognition they deserve, even though they don't care to have you talk about them. They're going to get it one way or the other because they're that good. And Pat Murphy, the way he runs his club, that's outstanding. I mean, you watch how loose these guys are, how calm they are. They're just very easy going because they know their ability. They know what they have. They know the chemistry they built. And that's something that you can't take away from a team. And you can't predict a team's when you're playing against them, you can't predict that. You might be able to feel it as an opposing team, but once you start to feel it, that puts more pressure on you and your guys to perform to try and beat them.
Ken, thank you so much for the call, my man. Have a good one.
You got it.
There he is, Ken in the Falls, Nicolay Law fan, talking text line 414-677-1250. And Drew, I brought that up a little bit yesterday when we were talking about this because chemistry, I laughed because I believe it was Isaac Collins, and I laughed at it because it was a question from someone who's not typically in the clubhouse with all of this, asking about how this chemistry is going to help them into the postseason. And Drew, it's so obvious that the biggest advantage the Brewers have is camaraderie, is chemistry, in my opinion, because of what they were able to do in the regular season. Anyone can see that they have to lean into that approach because they don't really have a star they look back to other than Christian Yelich, maybe, but they don't rely on him night in and night out because they rely on their guys to show up for them.
And that's the thing. Listen, the questions about chemistry and camaraderie on Monday were just so annoying.
It's right. It's been there, done that. Right.
But where it does matter, because listen, at the end of the day, you can have a team of 26 guys that hate each other and win a World Series. I mean, we've seen that in history before. Go back to the Yankees of the 70s. Like, those dudes wanted to beat each other's butt every single day and then go out and beat their opponent's butt. You can win like that when you have talented players that don't like each other. The way that chemistry and camaraderie comes into play, though, is the trust factor and knowing that if I do my job, the guy after me is able to do his.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do my job, his job becomes easier and I'm going to score or good things are going to happen for the team. That's where that goofy camaraderie, power of friendship thing comes into play. One thing that I want to go back to that Ken brought up is, he talked about this team being one of the best in baseball and having the horses and, could win the World Series. Well, the thing to keep in mind is so can the other 11 teams.
Absolutely.
They all are among the best in baseball. They've got the horses. They have the ability to win the World Series. So just because you finish with the best record and all this stuff, it's not a guarantee. Every team in this field can beat the other one. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes and say, well, they won 96 games. They're the number one seed. They should steamroll to the World Series. Not how it works.
No, it doesn't. It is the fan playoff preview show. Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner here with you, getting you caught up all things Brewers ahead of the National League Divisional Series. It's top three, 2 men on for Boston as they are down 2-0 to the New York Yankees in game number 2 of that series.
It's not helping my my Saturday plans.
ALDS. Drew, I want to go back to another thing Ken said about the runners in scoring position. And really, the Brewers, the reason why I am so intrigued, and not just because of my Milwaukee origins and fandom as well with the team, but they are doing things different, right? It is not a power-driven team. But when you look at the runners in scoring position, no one in Major League Baseball had more hits with runners in scoring position than the Milwaukee Brewers. They had 400 hits with runners in scoring position. They had the second best batting average in Major League Baseball, only behind the other 1 seed in the Toronto Blue Jays. The Brewers have a brand. It's put the ball in play. It's apply pressure. It's continue to apply that pressure when you are on the base paths, Drew. And in September, they kind of steered away from it, in my opinion, because they were very conservative with health and with the options they had brought up. Is that something you have to expect from the Brewers to ramp back up in October, even if it means living and dying by that sword?
I think so. I mean, listen, that's how they won. That's how they have to win. And we've heard Murph say it. We've heard the players say it. This is who we are. They can't go out and suddenly become, murderers row and start crushing bombs. It just ain't going to happen. So yeah, that's the only option they have. Now, here's where it gets tricky. And I talked about this earlier today with Kuhn and Rami. The Brewers, the way that they play is very effective against most teams. But when you get up against teams with better and elite defenses, which the Brewers are, that style of play becomes harder. That's why they struggled so much against the Cubs. The Cubs play very good defense. The Cubs shut that game down. If a team comes out and is a team that doesn't make mistakes, we hear it all the time. Well, the Brewers are lucky. They just score off other teams' errors. Yes, because their pressure forces errors on the other team.
Yes.
If you're a team that doesn't commit a lot of errors, that is like the Brewers, reliant on pitching and defense, that makes the Brewers' task a hell of a lot harder. That's going to be the biggest test. Can they put together those kind of pressure at bats and pressure innings against the elite fielding teams?
Let's talk about the offense on the other side, because it was all pitching basically in that segment there, which is going to be an important piece, but you need to score runs to win ball games, Drew. That's the last I heard, at least. So let's talk about it. Who on the Brewers offense are you expecting the most out of heading into the divisional series? Nikolay Law fan talking text line 414-677-1250. If you want to join the show like Ken in the Falls, you can call in, text in. We'll read those off as well. It is the Fan Playoff Preview Show. Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner here with you live from the 1250 AM 1057 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
And thank the Lord for what gave me peace.
It's the playoff preview show. Tommy Wirtz, Drew Wagner. It's always fun when Drew's in studio, man. Just always good vibes. You know, my father commented on our chemistry before, Drew, once.
Chemistry.
Yeah, it's kind of like the oil and water mix that just happens to work out all the time, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yin and yang, like everyone loves that.
When I think chemistry, I think guys and dolls. Chemistry.
It is the fan playoff preview show. We talked a lot about pitching on the other side of things. I wanted to talk about hitting, batting, offense, whatever you call it, for the Milwaukee Brewers. And Drew, I point back to our guy Kurt Hogue, looking at his expectations, his rankings here. 3 through 6. We said 1 through 2 was Freddie and Quinn. 3 through 6, all offensive players for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Where was Suarez on that list?
He's 27. He just missed the cut. Hoskins actually was 27, and Suarez was 28 for the Brewers heading into the postseason.
Hey, speaking of Suarez, so we've made so many jokes about not getting Suarez at the deadline, right?
Correct.
We have beaten that horse beyond recognition.
Absolutely.
The other third baseman that everyone was clamoring for the Brewers to get for basically the last year and a half.
Is he on the New York Yankees
He's
right
on
now?
the New York Yankees right now. You brought him up as we were coming out of the break. Good old Ryan McMahon.
MC Mahon.
Yep. The Brewers should have gone out and got Ryan McMahon. The Yankees got him instead. Here are the numbers. 54 games, 4 home runs, 18 RBI, slash line of 208, 308, 333,
Oof.
OPS 641.
Wow. I mean,
and he is making
shout out Danny Jansen.
Yeah,
right?
He is making a pretty penny for that too. $12 million. And he's got 16 owed each of the next 2 years.
Oh man, that's just not something that you want Milwaukee invested in right now at this time. And it's always calculated, right? You're going to stick with the guys that got you to that point, and the Brewers did that, and it worked out all right in their favor, only getting the most wins ever this team has seen. And on top of it, the number 1 seed in all of baseball. We got about 5 minutes left here. And I said, William Contreras, Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, Bryce Terang are the 3 through 6 as far as importance, expectation, if you will, for the Brewers heading into the postseason. Drew Wagner, I want to amend some of these.
Yeah,
I would like to. I do like Contreras at 3, right? He obviously
I agree
is
with that.
So much more than just a hitter with what he does behind the plate and calling games, and knowing everything that everyone does in that bullpen, because he's the only guy who catches for the Brewers. He has to know
offensively,
everything.
he's the most important player in the postseason.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
If he's back to where he was before this hand injury, they need his power. They need his threat of power in the lineup, because that makes the guys in front of him and behind him get better pitches. They don't want William Contreras to beat him. That sets things up so much better for the rest of the offense. He is a run producer. He is a power threat. He is the kind of guy that you need to have those moments that we were talking about.
Sure.
If he's not doing it, more of the honest falls then on Chourio and or Yelich to deliver the big blow. You need all 3 of those guys. We know that you've gotten Yelich, and you know what you've gotten Chourio. Contreras is the question mark because of the hand, because of that finger. What version of him are you going to see come Saturday?
I would like to go back in time just a little bit. 37 hits in 28 games, an average of 343, an OPS of 1092, 10 home runs, 6 doubles, 24 runs driven in the month of August. Mr. Bryce Terang.
Yeah.
When this team was at its peak, we know it was August. They won the games. They won the burgers for everyone here. And Bryce Terang, really, of any player in Major League Baseball, maybe had the biggest turnaround from a first half to a second half. And he maintained it throughout September. He was still very quality all throughout September. But when Bryce Terang figured it out with his swing in the month of August, this team took a whole different step. You already know what he does on the defensive side, the former Platinum Glove winner. I love if Bryce Terang can bring that into October, because this team, we've seen it already out of Yelich. We've seen it already out of Contreras. Hell, Chourio, massive moments in October last year, with whether it be on his defensive side, robbing that home run, or the homer in game 2. Bryce Terang, I have had such a high hopes and expectations for him all 2025. I want him higher on that list than 6. I really do think that when he was hot is when this Brewers team was at their best, Drew.
I agree. I mean, listen, Bryce Terang is probably one of their best offensive players right now, all around. Like, no doubt about it. I would put probably Yelich and then him would be my 1 and 2, and just in terms of all-around offensive players right now that are a threat to do everything. They can draw the walk, they can steal a base, they can put the ball in play, they can hit for power, all that stuff.
As far as Brewers' brand of baseball, I don't know who exemplifies it more than Bryce Terang.
But I think I agree with you there. Listen, the thing is, I think that Terang and Yelich and even Chourio are more known commodities at this point in terms of just recency bias. I have no doubt those guys are going to perform in the playoffs. What I am not sure of is that's why I said William Contreras is going up there. That's the important one to me. It's not like who's the most valuable or who's the best. It's, to me, it's, I don't think the Brewers offense, I don't think those other guys can do what they're doing if William Contreras isn't a threat every time he steps up in the batter spot.
Sure. And what about Andrew Vaughn? Same guy who again, a lot of people, he hadn't homered in 40 days. Well, all he did was hit 290 during that stretch. Like, he's been hot going into this postseason. I actually
asked him about that the other day at the end of the season. I said, people are going to focus on the lack of home runs, but you've put up great numbers this month. And he said, basically, they're not giving me pitches to crush out of the ballpark. They're giving me pitches that I can drive to the gaps, and that's what you want to see. You don't want a guy going up there trying to hit a home run. When you do that, chances are they're going to strike out. You want a guy that's going up there looking to make good contact and getting his pitch and being aware of the mistakes, because those are the ones that you can drop over the wall and score multiple on one swing.
Got an eye on Yankees, Red Sox. It's 2-2 now, tied in the bottom part of the third. 2 men on, 2 outs for New York. If the Red Sox are to win this game, it will be Brewers, and whoever wins, Padres and Cubs on Saturday night, October 4th. We'll have more to come with that as we continue to plan this out based on the schedule of Major League Baseball. Drew, any closing remarks today?
2 tweets I want to get to before we sign off today. Chetta Gregg says, I really want at least a World Series appearance, but a loss in the championship series, though disappointing, could be a more positive ending than years past. A loss in the DS feels like, especially after how year has gone, a failure. Chris Phineas says it's World Series or bust. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I would like to hear your thoughts. What are the realistic and acceptable expectations for this Brewers team going into this playoff run?
For Tommy Wortz, Drew Wagner, this has been the Fan Playoff Preview Show, live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We'll see you tomorrow, Milwaukee.